version of CGL that's over on Barrett Laurie's channel. And this is the horror edition, meaning the guests will always be reading you something horror based. I can't say always scary because everyone's scary is different, but we still like to creep you out over here. So, if you don't know who I am author D.L. Tillery, the Mistress of Horror, and I bring you all things horror and my writer's journey over here on my channel. And I'm going to introduce my guest for tonight's show, A.F. Stewart. If you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel, I'll go ahead and turn the screen over to you.
Okay. I'm A.F. Stewart, Anita Stewart. I write horror, fantasy horror, horror fantasy, mythical stuff, folklore, some horror poetry. Over on my channel, I've got some writing advice, marketing advice. I've got my podcast, the Between the Pages Book Chat, where I talk to all sorts of authors. And I have my other podcast, Words to Kill, where we talk about killing characters.
Ooh, I like talking about that. That's all.
Yeah, and there's some fun episodes there.
I bet. That's always fun. I like that. But yeah, so tonight we are going to have some creepy fun like we do in every episode. And let's see who is in the chat, who made it on time. Because last time we did have to wait a few minutes for some people to pop in, which is cool. But it looks like Barrett made it on time. Look at him. Oh, you're fine, Barrett. That's because of the StreamYard thing. I'm gonna have to double check my account because AF let me know that you can change it in it, but I didn't see, so it might be a paid account thing that they let you do and just kind of make you suffer through it otherwise. But I'm gonna check into that to make sure because it just shows up CTS time on YouTube, though it's still showing up EST time on my side. So little funny thing that's been going on for a minute. I'm like, everyone just listen to what I said and don't read anything, So that's what I was hoping for. But yeah, I'm sure everybody will pop in. It usually gives them a ding and all that jazz. So I just give everybody a few minutes to pop in, but we'll go ahead and start the topics nonetheless. Either way, because those are always fun and they take a little time. Hello, Novel Nana. Novel Nana has arrived. Thank you for being here. We have some late bloomers, but most people will be like, what? It's live. What's happening? And then they'll pop on over here. So tonight's first topic that we are going to be talking about is out of a werewolf, vampire, or ghost, which of the three is your favorite to read, watch, or write about and why? So you see, if you are a writer or just a watcher of horror films or even just, reading horror, then this question can fit you. Or if you do all three, you can answer in all three base. So I'm going to let my guest answer this question first to see what her take is on this.
Well, I've written all three, but my favorite is to write about the ghosts.
Yes.
I like writing about mean, vicious, nasty little ghosts that do horrible things to people. Yes. And also I like to do the ghosts in maybe a little more sort of spooky, sort of tragic way as well, because there's one story I wrote over on Pen of the Damned called Ophelia that it's a very tragic story.
Oh, okay.
But also very, very creepy if you read it properly.
Yeah.
Most people who commented on that said it was so sad. And it is sad, but it's also like, yeah, the little girl's driving her father mad.
Right. You're like, don't get too drawn up in the sad. You're missing the creepy.
Yeah. Anyway, but I do love writing ghost stories. Ghost stories are my favorite thing to write.
Awesome. Now, I have written all three of these. I've read books under all these, and I do like supernatural based stuff. And I would say probably werewolf would be my favorite to write for sure. And it's always a tie between vampire and werewolf, but I feel that vampires get more screen time, so to speak, than the werewolves do. And I like werewolf stories because the lore behind werewolves is so kind of mystery based, even more so than vampires, because no one talks about werewolves as much, you know. So it's kind of like we don't know, and a lot of things get very misconstrued about werewolves, and since there are so many different types of kind of wolf and demon stuff, so it's like, you know, it'd be cool to see more werewolf stuff. So I guess I'll have to take up the mantle and write more werewolf stuff and put it out for people. But it's like werewolves definitely because of them being like the beast, and then you have like the werewolves that are born werewolves, and the ones that are bitten and turned, and then the different types of classified werewolves. I mean, I prefer if people didn't just classify all of the type of wolf beast under a werewolf, because you'll get that in a lot of movies or books. They'll be like, this is a werewolf, and then it'll really not be a werewolf. It'll be something like a Lucale or something like that, or to be like a wolfen or something. And I'm like, that's not a werewolf. Like, it needs to walk on hind legs and be more man-like, but not a wolf man, but more on its hind legs, and be extra tall, but not like our wolves that we have, and not just because like a wolfen would be more of the big large version of a wolf, and some have called them wolfen, and then the Lucale. So it's like they just throw them all under the same thing. You know, it happened in Twilight. She was like, "Oh, werewolves." I'm like, those are werewolves. Like, you can write whatever you want, but if you're going to use someone else's lore, kind of like if you use elves in your story, you're not going to say this whole other thing is an elf when you're using something that exists in fantasy for all of us to use. So it's kind of like you do have some rules in this setting to do that, but everyone just completely just negates that whole thing when it comes to werewolves. They're like, here's a werewolf. I'm like, that's just a really big wolf. That is not a werewolf. Maybe you want to say they're shifters. So that's cool, but that's not a werewolf. Like, if I hear werewolf, I'm expecting to see a big, snarly beast that's like 12 feet tall and on his hind legs and want to rip me apart with his claws. Like, if I see a dog, like a wolf from the woods, come walking up and he's real big, I'm like, I need you to stop calling that a werewolf. So, but yeah.
It's like a shotgun can take that thing out. Why is it?
Right? I'm like, I mean, it could be just as scary in some ways because you know it can still eat you, but it's not a werewolf. You don't know what this thing's going to do, and they can talk sometimes, so they can they think more than you would expect like a dog to do. So it's like, that ain't a werewolf, my boy. That's not a werewolf. Aphrodite is here. Hi, Aphrodite. Thank you for coming. And write the dang thing. Hello. Thank you for coming. Now, if anyone wants to answer the question that was posed, then please, by all means, do. And then I will read your comments in the chat. So, what are you partial to? Do you prefer a werewolf, vampire, or a ghost? And why? So, you've heard our reasoning. So, I'm going to go ahead and let us move on to the second topic of tonight. And you all can answer the first one, and I will pop back in there and check it. So, the second topic for tonight is: has there been any horror writers that inspired you to write horror or that you've looked up to? Now, this could be, if you're not a writer and you're in the chat, then you can answer based to your favorite horror writer or that you've come across that inspired you in any kind of way and facet in life. Now, as writers, of course, we have a little bit more intel as far as like, okay, we know writers that have inspired us to write other stories or whatever the case may be. So I'll let you answer that first, F.
Well, I'm kind of a classic girl, and Edgar Allan Poe is my main horror inspiration, but
yeah, love him.
I also like Ray Bradbury. I mean, most people when they think of Ray Bradbury, they think sci-fi.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
But he's
There's
written
a lot of times.
He's actually written some very creepy horror stories,
Yeah.
like I think it's the Foghorn's the name of it,
Mm-hmm.
and the Emissary, and things like that. And they are primo stories. I really love them.
So yes, a lot of horror writers out there that a lot of people don't know about, which is like sad. So, but yes, Edgar Allan Poe is really, really cool. I like him since he's from my town. So he was actually some of my inspiration for like me when I'm a poet and I write poetry, and I write some darker stuff too in my poetry. But yes, Edgar Allan Poe is awesome. I love him. He's good people. They actually was almost ready to tear down like his old house here in Maryland, but they actually was able to save it, which was good because it's like a historical place now, and they almost couldn't save it, so they were able to save it. So that's really good. Uh,
Yeah. And I also take a lot of my inspiration from the original Grimm's fairy tales.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, the ones with the cannibalism.
The real grim, like, and when you hear fairy tales, you're like, the real fairy tales are grim. Just like, I have like a few copies of the grim, tales. I should say they all say grim fairy tales, but the grim tales. I think I have a gold binded one, and I have another one, and I have a smaller one of it. But I have like their full collection of grim tales. I love reading that stuff. It's good stuff. All right, everyone, you can answer the second question too. I'll go ahead and answer the question. Myself, I love Edgar Allan Poe. He's definitely on my list. One of my top would be H.P. Lovecraft because I am into the cosmic horror genre. I like to write that stuff in psychological horror. So H.P. Lovecraft is one of the classics horror writers that I like. And of course, there's always Stephen King. But Stephen King is a well-known the go-to type of situation. Stephen King is like on my list of top 5, but only because of very specific ones of his stories. I don't really get scared with Stephen King stuff, but he has creepy aspects in his stories. So I have never been like creeped out by Stephen King stuff. And it's probably more like I know it's coming. I guess maybe that's why. And I learned his pattern so well because I've read all his stuff and watched all his movie adaptations. But it's like I like some of his stories, like The Shining, but not. I didn't like the movie adaptation of the original Shining because it was not very faithful to the book. And we had the people who were like, well, when they did the remake not too long ago, and they said, well, this is more homage to the original movie. And I'm like, how about you give homage to the book? From a writer's perspective, how about you do that? I get it because screenplay writers also a lot of times like, well, this, and this won't work, blah, 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 for whatever reason, which is fine, but only when you're saying something can't fit. Please don't do the fact of completely changing the story because what they did with the original Shining was changing the outcome of the story, which I'm like, if you're going to mess with some stuff, try not to make it where you change in the outcome because that's really going to make a lot of people read books annoyed with you.
Yeah.
Really.
I've seen a few movies like that.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
Especially the Agatha Christie adaptations for TV.
Oh my goodness, I know, right? Oh, please, it makes me so angry. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm so happy when they make a film adaptation, but then I'm also afraid.
It's like, I watched one on TV where they changed Poirot's backstory.
Like, why?
Yes, why?
Why would you do that? Well, we think that this will work better. But like, because you're not, though?
Yeah, I mean, no, the fact that the woman who wrote it has sold millions and millions of books.
She doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
She doesn't obviously know what she's doing. Everyone knows who she is. But no, she doesn't know. You know better. Like, some of the things that they decide to do, you're like, that's not for time restraint reasons, okay? You just think you can write it better, but let's just stop all that nonsense, okay? I just really can't with that. But yes, that's a great example. And I love Agatha Christie stuff. Oh my God. I have a lot of her books. I'm like, when I see a movie, I'm like, yeah, I bought all her video games. So they actually made video game adaptations, which are way truer to the book, which is really cool because you get to play it all out and everything. So it's like, I really like that factor. But like the movies, man, you never know what they're going to do. Get us all excited and then start changing stuff around.
Yeah. I was a little surprised at the recent one, the Orient Express with Kenneth Branagh. That was actually better than I thought it would be.
I know, I was a little afraid. I was
really couldn't picture Kenneth Branagh as Poirot.
Right.
But he didn't do a bad job. I mean, they changed a little bit of it, which they didn't have to, but
you know how that is.
But it was pretty faithful to the book.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm always happy when that happens. And Stephen King's The Shining, when there was a version that he was more involved with, and it actually followed the book better. So that's the version I like, and I think it only came out like on TV or something a few
Yeah, I
times.
think it was a miniseries.
Yeah, they considered it a miniseries, so that one was actually closer to it because it made the father look really bad in like the Jack Nicholson version. Like it almost made it look like he wasn't like fighting back. It almost made it look like he just gave in and was murdering his family at the end, and that's not what happened. So he saves his family at the end and beats the inner demons, so all that bull crap. So, but they changed it with Jack Nicholson, like they were still running away from him at the end, and then he just dies out in the cold. I'm like, what is this? This isn't what happened. Like, I'm getting really upset with this. I don't know what they're doing here. Like, so that was very upsetting. But I was glad that that's why it's a little scary when you are a writer and you don't get involved with the film adaptation. There's going to be some issues, and I mean, I see it more that way than not. If the writer isn't involved, or if they don't just care if they do the changes, or they're okay with the changes, or something like that. But if they are involved, I notice that it doesn't happen as much, and it just messes up the story to me. Like they did it for a reason. Like why are you just messing up stuff? Like all right, Aphrodite like big beast, yes. Let me see here. Aphrodite says I do like when they transform, but they are seriously wild and crazy though. This is true. Well, when they're like the werewolves and beasts, they really can be. I mean, I've seen the ones where they talk. That's always funny. I'll be like, this big monster's talking to me. Don't talk to me. This is for the first question. Barrett says, I love a good ghost story for reading and watching. Yes, a good ghost story is always a nice bedtime story. Creep yourself out before you go to sleep. I heard a creak in the back, you start getting weirding yourself out. All right, people saying hi. Oh yeah, after I said not, she don't play with ghosts. She don't. She don't be watching the ghost stuff. No reading the ghost stuff. She gets scared pretty easily. So I feel bad for her being my alpha reader most of the time. She has to read my horror scare herself. I think The Room Within gave her nightmares when she first read it. So she was dreaming about the lot of or Aphrodite. All right. Barrett says I like R.L. Stein books. Yes, R.L. Stein's a good one. Fear Street was my jam. Yes, but I stopped my horror reading at middle school. Yeah, it gets a little you get a little graphic after that. Get really scary, creepy after the middle school. I mean, when I was growing up, I used to read Goosebumps and stuff. So definitely was like always in the horror when I was a kid. My mom was actually pretty good. She did let us watch. She let us watch horror growing up when we were kids. So we were really kind of desensitized to it anyway. So like she didn't let me watch dolls though, because I had a good doll collection when I was a kid. So that was like the only horror movie I hadn't seen until I was probably like 14. And then I watched it on my own. I was like, I see why she didn't let me look at this. I wouldn't have liked my dolls anymore. I would not have wanted to see them at all.
Yeah, I watched a movie. I think it was called The Ventriloquist.
Yeah, I seen that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was very creepy.
Yeah, well, Aphrodite's like she don't do the dolls, and she told me the doll horror movies. They had another one called Annabelle too, and she was a like coming to life type of situation. Of course, everyone knows the classic Chucky with his creepy stuff. I think the newer Chucky was really that was actually pretty scary. Like the way they animated Chucky, he was definitely worse. So, because a lot of times you see them remaking horror, you're like, oh no, here we go, they're gonna mess it up. But that was actually Child's Play was actually not bad for a remake, which was shocking. Aphrodite said, I like VC Andrews. Yes, VC Andrews is really, really good. She's a specialized type of horror that has a vividly influenced by storytelling. Yeah, she's really good. And Regina over at Haunted Library always has like VC Andrews videos and stuff like that. She has a extensive collection of VC Andrews stuff. And I think as far as I'm aware, that VC Andrews stuff still comes out. Is she has like it's a person who writes under her name. So that way kind of like you still get her work even after she has passed. So that's pretty cool. You still get stories like that. All right. Let's see. Now, question 2. Clive Barker, H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King. Yep. All good ones. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm talking Aphrodite. Yeah, that would be cool if more writers did write screenplays. Simply because that'd be cool if we all learned to do that. I'm learning, but like it's nice to do that just in case your stuff ever gets
Yeah.
adapted. Then you can write your own screenplay, and you have to worry about less stuff being taken out. You know,
It's a different medium, though.
it is. It's a different beast altogether. Like after
Yeah.
I looked at it, because Aphrodite writes screenplays, and she's into film and production, where she came from, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a whole different world, but it's the writing thing is still there, you know. So Aphrodite is blessed to be like able to do both of those things, and always have been a writer in both areas. So you're blessed to be able to do both of those skills. But it's a nice skill to pick up if you don't know it, because it's kind of like with Anne Rice when her one of her series with Lestat is going to get adapted into a show, and Christopher Rice, her son, he wrote the screenplay. So it worked out since both mother and son are writers type of situation. So he wouldn't butcher his own mother's work, which is really good. Um, I believe that's still going to come out. Anne Rice passed, but Christopher is really good with keeping up on her stuff. So still should look forward to that. Hopefully the show adaptation will be pretty good. Uh-huh. Hello, cool gamer. Nice to see ya. Hello, Sam Wicker's here. All right, let's see. Aphrodite, so I write all my own scripts to my book, so I know I got to read some. Not taking any chances. Sure, there are changes, but at least they are mine and in keeping with my story. Yes, because that's always like, in my opinion, like one day I would hope to get one of my horror stories made into a movie adaptation, but I'd have to have hands on because I really don't want people randomly changing stuff just because they feel like it. If it's something that's useful, then I might consider it. But if it's something ridiculous, like taking out a character for no reason or something like that, then I'm gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a problem. I mean, I've seen them do it to so many writers, and then changes the whole entire structure of the story. Game of Thrones, and then also Lord of the Rings. And I loved the Lord of the Rings movies when they first came out, but they took Tom Bombadil out of the story. And that would have ended the story immediately because the hobbits would have never made it out of the woods. And then I would have been like, the end. It would have been a short story, just like the Hobbit. That's like very detrimental. You say, well, we had a lot of budget cuts and we couldn't do this and that, but there was literally no reason to take Tom Bombadil out besides him seeming like a god of their world because he's very nonchalant. He didn't really care. The ring had no effect on him, so they really didn't have any reason to take him out besides that kind of being the seem like. And then at the time with filming, they didn't really want to have any god like beings in stories. I think even when they were fantasy based, so they really had no other reason to take Tom Bombadil out besides that. But it's like, you ruined the story because now the story would have stopped. I'm just telling you. So hopefully they don't do that with everything. Horror has a less chance of that happening, but it still could happen because they have to leave the monster at least. Let's see if anybody else answered the question. Chat's moving faster. Yeah, I know, Aphrodite. You can always go back, I think, but I don't know if I can put it on slow because I think I've seen someone change the setting before, but I'm not sure where that would be. Let's see for answer for question 2. Poe and Lovecraft. Love the Lovecraftian beasties. Yes, they are unexplainable, which I really like. Okay, Aphrodite. Question 2. I like BC Andrews. That's right. I read that one. I'm further down. I must have went down further and came back up. Yes, everyone loves BC Andrews. The room within hooked me up for days. Yeah, you're easy though. I'd like everybody to be like you when they read my stuff. So that way everybody doesn't be super scared. Everyone's level of freaked out and scared is different. Toilet monsters freak me out. And Cooley's, yeah. I mean, that would be creepy. Like, if you go to sit on the toilet and there's a monster in there, that wouldn't be good. That's creepy for everyone for all kinds of reasons. Sandweaver says, when I was 4 to 6, my bed was in the living room because of my health issues, so I got to watch all the 80s and 90s horror movies while trying to sleep. Yeah, definitely trying to sleep. Still have yet to be able to watch. Oh my goodness. Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street again. Yeah, that's a classic. You know it. Yeah, Freddy trying to come people's dreams and stuff. Right, it ain't think I'm cool with any horror until they start removing fingers and toes. Can't do it. No dismemberment? What? Why not? Let me stop.
Yeah, you might want to stay away from my stories.
I was gonna say both of our stories because I like the decaps,
I've got a few dismemberments peppered here and there. So
yeah, so it might be for some people. No. Aphrodite said, no kids, no ghosts, no animated objects coming on.
okay, really should stay away from my stories.
No. That's folk. Oh,
Yeah,
aquatic creatures. I can't.
Yeah, creepy kids, ghosts, and inanimate objects doing strange things are kind of my jam.
That's your jam, man. That's your jam. Yeah, she'll just be freaked out. She'll be all right. But she's one of those people that go watch like, a cartoon or something. Something really, really happy after she can sleep at night. You know what I mean? Oh my goodness. Yeah, we have a question segment actually, so I'll save that one, but I'm going to mark it so that way I can remember it. This is going to be a question for you, AF, which we have a section for questions. Also, if anyone has any questions for the author and writer over here, then what you want to do is put a Q in front of it if you have a question, because we do have a question segment after she does her reading, which we're about to pop into. Let's see if anyone else had an answer for that. Okay, so he has a Q down there, question. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into our next segment. Time for story reading and critique. Yes. Now, people, you all can do the critique section. I will read what AF is looking for her critique before she reads, so you can think about that while you are listening, and I will actually be putting the document up on the screen for you. Please pardon my internet is acting funky tonight, even though I'm plugged in, but you know how that is. I have like 1 million people in my house, so everyone's on the internet 24/7. So let's see here. Go ahead and prepare the document for you, AF. All right, that's that. Let's see here. That's there. That's down here. Yeah. Pull this back up. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and let me read your wants for your critique. AF will be looking for character voice. Make sure you pay attention to the character's voice, pacing, and whether there is enough tension and atmosphere. So pay attention to those because that is what she's looking for critique tonight. All right. Now, AF's reading is about 5 minutes, but it may be a little over a little bit. So I'm going to allow that tonight because it's only probably a few line difference. Because I think with this one, the chapter is a whole chapter, so it's short. So I would like you to get the full feel of it. So I'm going to allow any overread time past the 5. So let us go ahead and get into it. And I'm going to do screen share. Share screen. Yes, thank you. We're just going to do the entire screen. Boop. All right. So, and AF, I will let you start once the document's up there.
Okay. I'm going to read off my word thing because, my eyes will never see that.
Oh, no. Read it wherever you need to read it from. This is for everybody else.
Yeah. Other people's eyes are very, very much better than mine. So.
And the title of your story
It's Shadows of the Dead. That's the title of the novella. So, and this is chapter 1 from the novella.
All right, here we go.
Okay, we ready?
Yep, already. The document should be up there. If anyone cannot see the document, please let me know. I'm going.
Okay, so soft light from the lanterns cast a diffused glow over the shrouded body as I watched the police carry the corpse from her lodgings. Fading sunlight warmed the shadows playing over the sheet and those bearing the burden of her cadaver. A stranger to me, but I heard her name whispered in the surrounding crowds. Emily Lloyd. Despite the covering, I knew the dead woman would be older, with graying hair and brown eyes, the same as the other women he had recently murdered. I turned my head away as the body moved past and allowed myself to be swept along with the milling onlookers as the policemen cleared off the crowds. After leaving the gruesome spectacle, I walked home, worries and fears swarming my thoughts. I passed the lamplighters at their job as they ignited the streetlights, and a warm orange glow slowly mingled with the ruddy sunset of the descending twilight. Perhaps it was not wise to walk London streets at that hour, but I made it safely to the lodging house I kept. Neither of my lodgers were downstairs as I entered, and I briefly savored the welcome silence before questioning their whereabouts. Were they safely in their rooms or out wandering the darkened streets of London? Were they both here? I especially needed to know Richard's location. Should I climb the stairs and knock on his door? But I feared his possible absence. I went to the kitchen instead. A used glass sat on the table. I picked it up. It smelled of whiskey, and I noticed a small red smear on the side, the color of blood. Perhaps Richard was in his room. Washing the glass, I pushed away unwelcome thoughts and returned the clean dish to the cupboards before laying out a few things for breakfast. Then I retired to my own room in the back. Undressing and changing to my nightgown, I settled in front of the vanity to brush my hair. With each stroke, I thought of the scene I witnessed. The shrouded body brought out on a stretcher, an arm dangling from beneath the blood-stained sheet. Did she suffer? What pain did she feel from the knife? How many times did he stab her? He always used a knife, but what he did to his victims varied. He slit one woman's throat. With another, it was a clean stab to the chest. The most previous one he eviscerated. I wonder why. Does he get bored with the kills, or is he covering his tracks? I stared in the mirror, pulling the brush through my hair in an even rhythm. Why older women? How does he choose them? Are they his choice or the host? My hand wavered. Richard's face blossomed in my thoughts. Does he know he's being used? Is he a willing participant? With a sigh, I put the brush down. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. I didn't know for certain Richard was the one. It was only a suspicion. It made sense. He would torment someone I cared about, like Henry. Biting my lip, I closed my eyes. I didn't want to think about Henry. It was my fault, all my fault. I crawled into my bed and tried to sleep. My nerves were on fire and my thoughts raced. Sleep would bring me no peace, but what else could I do? Eventually I drifted off. Then the dreams came, as they always did after one of his kills. Standing in the garden of my childhood home, a soft morning mist swirled around my skirts. Morning sunlight dappled the trees, and songbirds chirped unseen, hidden within the branches. Looking down the path, I saw him, my shadow man. I turned away, but I knew it would be no use. His voice whispered in my ear, "Hello, Cora." His hand, if one could call it that, brushed against my shoulder, sending a shiver through my body. "Did you like my gift?" Arms encircled me, a familiar, comforting embrace from any other, but too much stained intimacy lay between us. I closed my eyes. "The dead woman?" I asked, knowing the answer, yet I needed him to say it. "Yes, I left her for you. I knew you would appreciate the work." A soft whimper escaped my lips, his words clawing at my soul. "Why do you do these things? She was innocent. She wasn't part of our game." "She wasn't that innocent," he chuckled. "And pawns are always part of the game. I wanted your attention, and now you're here with me." He slid his hand down my arm. "Besides, my host has a particular type. He has deep issues, this one. Such hatred and anger." I sucked in a breath and slowly exhaled. Who? Who have you chosen?" "Oh, you know. such soulful blue eyes and wavy brown hair. Doesn't Richard's smile make you quiver, Cora? He brushed his hair away from my cheek. I know how you long for him to kiss you, to put his hands on you as I am this moment. He cupped my waist. I swallowed, trembling. What if I came to you in his form? Would you like that? Would you take us to your bed? I think you would. With a cry, I pulled away, unable to take any more of his taunts. A moment later, awake and staring at the ceiling, I curled into a ball and closed my eyes again. His words echoed in my mind. What if I came to you in his form? Would you take us to your bed? Deep down, I feared I would, and I would enjoy the experience.
Very good. Stop sharing. Okay, everyone, that is the story. And you can put your critiques that she requested in the chat, and I will read my notes for her. I read this, actually, I read over it twice because I had time. Haha. All right, so first, I did like the story. I really am intrigued about the entity in her dreams. I really am really intrigued by that. So I definitely want to read it when it comes out. Please inform me when it does. um, so the character voice had consistency for sure. She seems to question a lot and wonder this and that, and the pattern was kept in the first chapter. So she seems to be a type of person that does question things. So actually, when I first read it, I had to go back and read it again to make sure that I didn't miss something. Maybe she was a detective because she seems to have that kind of mindset to me. So, like, if she was at the crime scene, that she could have herself been a detective. So I was kind of like, let me make sure I just didn't miss that because she does have that kind of mind to me. Um, the pacing was good. It was steady, slow to build, then into the wonder of what is happening. So the pace was rather balanced for chapter one. So I thought the pacing was fine to start off. Um, Maybe there could be more tension considering the subject matter of what the creature in her dream is, but that is more of a choice depending on how you want the lead the reader. So that's more of an opinion of like type of stuff that I read.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily say that anything's wrong with the tension. It just depends on how you want to lead them.
yeah.
So
You do get the demon's voice in chapter two, so you are going to get a little more of what he is in.
yeah. So I mean, the tension starts. The deeper tension starts when he appears. It is a slight tension, obviously, building there because it starts off with the woman being dead at the beginning. So it's nothing wrong with the tension.
Yeah,
So if you wanted to add to the tension, you could. But again, like I said, it's all about how you want to lead your readers along. Because I
yeah,
like to tease my readers. So the tension is a slow build for me most of the
yeah.
time.
I'm also trying to balance the erotic undertone in this book because this is not something I'm used to writing.
Right.
So
I mean, so it's like I think I got that like her attention with the demon, which makes sense too, because if he is a demon, so if his entity, if is he doing like a sexual tension as well, that's really used
yeah,
because that happens with those type of entities anyway. They like to use that against you, especially if you're more of a sexual style creature, then they definitely will hone
yeah.
in.
There's a lot of Victorian repression in this book. Just saying.
Right. So I mean that would be really cool. Actually, I like that. So I did pick up on that. It was that's going to be part of the story because of just that one scene with them. You know, especially with the Richard thing and everything like that. I was like, oh, watch out, what's going on? So yeah, ready for that. All ready for that. And the atmosphere was good. I sensed uncertainty and foreboding. So it definitely the atmosphere was a good build as well. So I like it a lot. And yeah, I think it is promising for sure to find out what is happening, what's going to be going on. So definitely very interested. And that's all honestly, you just need a hook, honestly, for like horror to pull people in so that way they can get enthralled and like want to know more. So us horror writers, if we got that from like the first like few lines, then usually that'll hook people who are into horror because they want to feel uncomfortable and they want to be uneasy. So you kind of like, you don't know what's going on when you first read the first few lines, like why is this old woman dead? But also why she know, like she already knew what the worst was going to look like. You're like, wait, what's going on? What's that about? So you're already questioning. So you don't know what's going on, but you know you're entering horror. So you're kind of like you're already on the edge of your seat. Like let me see what's going to happen here. What's going to make this horror, So, but yes, definitely had all that going on. So let's see what everyone else has to say in the chat. I will skip questions and save those for after. Let's see. That's a question. That's a question. Oh, good. We got some questions this time. Aphrodite says she loved the title. It is a really good title. Hello, RC Scott. Thank you for joining us. Didn't want to miss anybody. I missed you when you first popped in. Let's see. All right. All right. Barrett says, so far I'm loving the character voice. That's why we were reading. While you were reading, that was about 2 minutes in. All right. And Barrett said, rising tension. Yep. That was about 4 minutes in, so you still had another minute to go. I love the nonchalant narrator speaking of the various ways he kills the victims. Cold, distant, and detached. Love it. The dialogue is intriguing. The relationship is deep and interesting. You got some snaps. Write the dang thing said, wow, great story. Writer Sam Wicker said, amazing story. Well done from Novel Nana. Always good to hear that from another horror writer who is amazing. Barrett said, I thought the voice was clear. I thought that the tension rose as the story went on. This is true. Strong imagery and loved the concept. Vivid dream and description of... I'll read the rest of that. Hold on a second. I like the character voice. Very strong. When do we get to hear chapter 2? Right, though. Always pleased with that. We get a little bit, right?
Yeah. Chapter 2 is from the demon's voice, and he was a lot of fun to write.
Oh, all right. Aren't the demons and the other creatures always fun to write when you go from like a human?
It's like, the third voice, Richard, needs a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll figure Richard out. Especially since Richard's kind of like in the possession, like, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I got to start Richard off as kind of this innocent guy, and then you get the reveals about Richard.
Right. And then the demons coming in like in his personality. Right. That's an interesting one to try to write because they're trying to show the change. You know what I mean? And that's funny when your character changes and their voice changes, because that happens also to just characters in general when they grow in a story. So their voice changes. So you it's an interesting thing to do as a writer. All right. And this is from, I think, Now Bananas other one, the vivid dream and description of the voice was distant and concise. Let's see. Love the character voice and attention to me led us along like a slow burn. Yeah, that's what I was saying about the slow burn, which is really good for horror because, you need that. It like draws you in. It makes you uncomfortable and it's creepy. That's how you do that. Slow burn. I didn't think AF would have any problem with that anyway. Let's see. Love the build to the being and introducing it with the dream. Yep. Worked out really well. Didn't see it coming. I do have to. I didn't see it coming. Like, you got me. Like, I will say, I didn't see the demon coming. I didn't know. I was like, who is this guy? Like, what? Who's messing with her dreams? Oh, wait, he's the one killing. I'm like, had me for a minute. I thought we was gonna have like a serial killer going on. I mean, yes, but one that somebody could catch,
there's way more going on between Cora and the demon.
I figured that, especially when she's hinted at it when she talked about that's not part of our deal, like agreement.
Yeah,
like,
and the whole reveal about Henry. The whole reveal about Henry.
Right, Henry, right? I'm like, wait, who's Henry? Like, we got all the questions now. Like, girl, what you been up to? You getting in trouble? What you doing? We got the questions. Novelan says pacing balanced perfectly with the rising tension. Yes, I caught those undertones. Yes. Aphrodite, it seems to me that the demon tends to carry sexualness as a part of them. Yes, it's true. So it definitely works. Didn't feel forced or out of place. Nope. Yeah. They be trying to mess with you. They know.
Yeah, that's good because I am not one to write romance, and honestly, I don't know where the erotic undertones in this book came from. They just decided to be there.
Right, just here it comes. Like, it's not gonna do about
it. Like, right? I mean, I sat down, I wrote this like in a couple of weeks, the first draft of this novella, because it was just like just came out. And I don't know where
Right,
it
came out, right? Yeah, that's the way it happens sometimes. You're just like, oh, what's going on here? What is this? And then you got the sexual undertones. You're like, wait, whoa, what? Surprise
is.
myself. Surprise. It's funny when we surprise ourselves like that. I missed a bit. Was it a dream? Yeah, like when she, right at the page 2 ends, she goes to bed and she goes into the dream. So yep, yeah, that's it. Can't escape there. Dreams, man. I tell you, all you can do is try to wake up. It's always creepy. I was about to say that the slower the scarier. Yeah, that build, man. All right, so let's go over the question segments. All right. So let's see who had questions. We're gonna go back up to the questions. Let's see. I think I might have started the first one. I'm gonna say that's the first one. All right. So to you, AF, what's your favorite 5 horror books? If you have a 5 list.
Okay, I'm a big chicken, so honestly, I don't read a lot of horror.
You about write the stuff to freak everybody else out, right? Look at you.
Yeah. Well, I never actually started out to intend to be a horror writer. I started out as a fantasy writer.
I would have been like fantasy because my favorite writer is R.A. Salvatore. So I would have been like, oh, you're gonna write fantasy, girl. But then horror just was like, I liked horror, and it happens. We can't control this stuff.
No. But anyway, as far as stuff I've read, like the horror stories of Ray Bradbury, but also a lot of I used to read a lot of comic books that were very darker and like the Neil Gaiman Sandman books, and there's some occult detective stuff that I used to read too. So I did read some horror in the comic realm.
Yeah, there's some really good horror in the comic realm. One of my favorite horror genre comics, more manga, is Berserk. That's a long running series. I have a whole bunch of the collected like sets of those. And Junji Ito. Now he writes some crazy horror. I just got like his newest book. Actually, excuse my mic. Here, I just got this one. This one just came out. It's called The Dissolving Class. And if you can see it, all the children in the class on the floor, they're all dissolving. So Junji Ito stuff is whoo. Now,
Yeah.
Japanese
Anime horror is pretty good too.
So
yeah, like the original Vampire Hunter, was it Vampire Hunter D?
Yeah, Vampire Hunter D. Yep.
Yeah, the original one. I love that one.
Yes, like when I was younger, I watched that. I love Vampire Hunter. I still got Vampire Hunter D stuff. Like whenever Vampire Hunter D stuff come out, I'm all over it. It's really well done. All right, let's see the next question for AF. Let's see. What was the first horror book you remember reading?
Well, that would probably be the Ray Bradbury short stories because I really didn't think of them as horror, but they were, and they're very creepy.
Right, and you're reading, and you're like, you don't even know somebody told you it's horror. You're like, what happened?
Yeah, it's like the emissary, especially that last scene where he just leaves you on the other side of the door.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Now, Banana Hex is you. What was / is your favorite monster to write about?
Probably it'd probably be either a tie between a banshee or the headless horseman. I like either one.
Yes, that's a good answer. I like it. This is for me. Let's see. Oh, she said they could cut off anything else, but fingers and toes, no. Look at her. You funny. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Like arms and legs, torsos, heads. We'll just leave the fingers and toes on there, okay? Everything else is on the table. All right. So, question for you: when is the last time you written a story with a dismembered character?
That would probably be a few weeks ago when one of my stories I wrote for the Pen and a Dan blog.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The main character dismembered his mother.
Nice.
And then ate part of her.
Oh, watch out now. Mm-hmm. Hey, that's the only way to eat, though. You gotta food.
Well, yeah. If you read the story, it's kind of a fun little thing. So.
Oh yeah. See, now we write people looking at us sideways. We write horror because I have a short horror story that's about a serial killer and he's a cannibal. Okay, so it's called Sprinkles, which is funny because he is very odd. He likes eating his human parts with sprinkles. Like he also cooks, so people just think he has this really obsession with sprinkles, but he also has secrets. So, and I'm like reading it when he's like, "Oh, I think I'll have a part of an was it Bill with a side of Jeffrey or something like that." And I was laughing when I was reading it back. My older brother, when he's looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" Because I was reading it out loud. He's like, "Something wrong with you." I'm like, "It's kind of funny." He was saying he wanted with a side of Jeffrey, you know. Oh my goodness. All right, so Nominata says, do you have a playlist you listen to while writing horror? Could you give us a few songs off that list if you have one?
No, I do not have a playlist when I write at all on anything. I can't listen to music when I write because I'll be listening to the music and not writing. I love music, but I have a tendency to bop and beep and
Get
dance to
distracted
music.
by it.
Yeah.
Some people are distracted by it. So I think I have a playlist for like per story. I'll have a playlist for it, but I don't really play it while I'm writing. Most of the time, I don't play music when I'm writing or editing. So I should play music when I'm editing so I can get through that terrible, terrible thing. Um, but I tend to not really play music when I'm writing or editing too much. And sometimes it depends. I might, if it's music that don't have lyrics to it, then I might be okay with it if it's in the playlist for the book or something like that. But most of the time, it's quiet.
Yeah. I do have a few Halloween listening playlists to play in the background for during the October. But
Oh, of course, yes, you gotta keep that alley plant throughout the whole season. All right, let's see if there's any other questions before I read some of the other comments in the chat. Questions, looking for questions. Mm-mm. Okay, I don't see any more, so let me go double check the chat. If you have any other questions, make sure you put a Q in front of it because I won't know what it is. Let's see. After I said, it's funny, I would watch scary stuff if I had a boyfriend and husband to snuggle with. In fact, I look forward to this. And she's like, look, I can't be by myself. This is too scary alone. Eyeballs are a nope. Can't stand things sticking in them or slashing or whatever. Nope. Leave the pepper.
yeah, I've done that too a couple of times with the eyeballs.
Yep. They're a good go-to. They'll definitely be a gruesome go-to. Yeah, saying what it won't be liking that. So you'll be skipping that part. Skipping that scene. All right, let's go down. See what anybody else got here before we get to our final closing. Now Nana says, where did the inspiration for the concept of this story and the inspiration for the characters as plot come from?
I have no idea.
Right? It's just like, hello, I'm
It's
here.
like, yeah, I just wanted to write a horror novella because I wanted to get something a little more long. Most of my horror stuff so far has been short stories and short form writing. And I wanted to write a horror novella. And I just came up with the concept of this kind of this cat and mouse game between a demon and a woman. And somehow Richard got involved, and then it turned into this erotic love triangle obsession thing that I have no idea where that came from at all.
Like, what's happening, right? And she'd be like, your character start doing stuff. You'd be like, what? Where this come?
Yeah, it's basically that was it. It was like, what are you doing? But I'm writing this. This is good.
This is good stuff. I love it. I love it. After I said Banshee, yes. All right.
Yeah, Mama was not a nice person. Just saying.
Okay,
she deserved what she got.
She got decap. Hey, this guy took it to another level. He said, I ain't gonna just leave you in an old folks' home. I'm taking the head with me. He took it to another level. All right. About to go watch the good he said about influence on my dreams tonight. I told you she was gonna say that. She gotta watch something to not be having the nightmares after all the creepy here tonight. Yeah. Big Firm with the sprinkles. Yeah, he has a thing. He has a thing with the sprinkles. I thought that was funny. That's just what we say. Like, we don't know where these stories gonna come from. You sit down, somebody come to you writing it, and all of a sudden, I don't know why he likes sprinkles. I was like, just do. It's okay. You know, everybody like what they like. The same. I have to have quiet when I write. Yeah. It works for a lot of us. Some people do the music thing. I'm just not one of them. Or white noise in the background. Yeah, I like white noise when I sleep. I can write in complete silence and utter chaos with everything in between. Hey, if it is, well, I got a 5-year-old, so there's no such thing as quiet, unless she's sleeping something. So I can write with all the noise, but usually I'm in
Yeah,
my office. I'm like,
yeah. It's weird. Noise doesn't bother me. It's the music does because I want to listen to it.
yeah, because you're like, yeah, I love music, so I definitely would be all like, yeah. I mean, I could write and listen to the music, but I just prefer not. I prefer quiet because usually I'm reading as well at the same time, and I'm kind of like in the world when I'm writing it, so I'm really distracted out of the story anyway. Not sure. See, no, I need music to edit. Not sure why, but if it's silent, I can't do it. Yeah, I know. I was thinking that lately. I'm editing Polyastral, trying to edit, but the editor gets it, and I'm like, could put music on, but I seem like I edit quicker when I'm not. I got my music on. Let's see. Sam says, "Have you have to have music when I write? Too many sounds in the neighborhood. Yeah, it also depends on where you live at too. I'm like, 'cause I know it's gonna be distracting. Oh, a new question. For you, what would be your dream writing collaboration?
Oh, Neil Gaiman, definitely.
Oh my god, he's so awesome, right? I took his
No, I
master
mean,
class,
I am a big fan. I have been a fan since his comic book days.
right?
Yeah.
Right though. He's really great. I took his master class. I was like, yeah, I gotta listen to everything he says. Everything hanging on those words. Yeah, he's really cool. That would be a dream for sure, right? That's a good one. Now, when I says, would you say that you are more leaning towards dark fantasy type horror usually?
Yeah. I mean, I have written some serial killer type fiction in my Killers and Demons collections, but mostly it is sort of myth based, history based, folklore based horror that I write.
Yeah. Aphrodite says, could this novella turn into a series?
It already is a series.
There you go.
I
Bam.
mean, it's not going to be the same characters in each book, but it's going to be a series.
Yep. Feel you on that.
And you might get mentions of characters like from books to books, like
I always like those type of series. I'm into paranormal romance, so I like they have series where it's just like different characters each one, but you'll get mentions of some of the other characters, or you'll get some new other characters in that one, and then that means it's going to be another one that they're going to be in. I always like those types of series personally.
yeah.
And my horror series that I'm playing is like that. I like that.
Book 2 is going to be darker than book 1, apparently. So
She's like, happened. Don't ask me why it is, but
yeah, it's kind of a Dorian Gray inspired thing, book 2. So
ooh, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be all over that. Oh, Richard, now it makes sense. Laugh out loud. All right. Question: who are your biggest supporters of your writing?
probably a lot of other authors I know. They're quite supportive. I belong to a local online writing group, so here in Atlantic Canada, so they're quite supportive.
I'm so eyeing your wall throw back there. I'm like, that looks really cool back there behind you. I
Oh
like.
yeah,
Is it an Edgar Allan Poe thing?
no, it's a like a kind of a Valkyrie kind of skull thing.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. I saw the crow at the top, but I was like,
Yeah, there's a crows in there too. It's just a bunch of images. I found it on Cafe Press.
I like that. I like anything creepy. Anything creepy going on, I'm all for it. All right, now Nana has another question for you. Will we have a possession of the girl who is dreaming in one of these books? Question.
I cannot answer that because it's spoilers.
Look at now Nana trying to fish for the spoilers.
Yeah.
So we never know what's going to happen. We don't know. We have to just be surprised when we get the next book. That's right. Now Nana will have the questions if nobody else will believe that. What is your favorite part of AuthorTube?
Oh, just watching you guys' streams. Those are so much fun. I love hanging out with you guys on the streams.
Yeah, it's always I love the streams. They're always fun. I've written some good stuff.
Especially the one today with Natalie and the trivia questions.
Oh yeah. I heard of that one today. And she said, do you have any questions you would like to ask DL, apparently, for me?
Actually, I do have questions. I want to know if you want to come on my show.
Of course, I'll come on your
Because
show.
I need a guest for the second season of Words That Kill, and I was thinking about doing one of cosmic horror, and I know you've mentioned you like.
Yeah, just let's shoot me an email about the deets, and then
I'm not sure when the second season will be recording yet because I still have to talk to Joe, who's in charge of Go Indie now.
I'll make time for it, so no worries. Just send me the deets, and I will be all over prepare and all that. So that's cool. Yes, yay. Now Nan says, "What is your pitch for the series, or have you put one together yet?"
I haven't really put one together yet. But it's probably going to be something like, Demons, Victorian Gothic sort of. It's going to be sort of a Victorian Gothic sort of a pitch, I think. Because
I'd be interested in that since I hear like demons and Victorian. I love Victorian everything. So I'd be like, yes, I gotta get that. And last question. Now, when Anna says, "What is your least favorite thing about horror?" That's a good one. Oh, we have one more after that.
I don't think I have a least favorite thing, but writing it anyway. But I mean, reading it scares me to death.
It's like, listen, I ain't trying to do that.
It's like, I mean, I love the concept of it, but I know I'm going to have nightmares if I read the stuff.
Right, it's going to really get you. They did their job. This is true. Now, Nan says, "What is your favorite part of writing horror?"
Oh, killing the characters. That's my favorite part.
Somebody's like, "Don't make me angry because I will kill you in my book." Don't.
Yeah, it's like all these other authors I interview going, "Oh, it's so hard to kill characters. It's so hard." I agonize over it, and I'm going, "Yes," nodding slowly, going, "No, it's not. No, it's not hard at all."
I don't know what I can't. I don't understand.
No, it's like, I do not compute. Do not understand the problems.
He's like, I do not. I know. All right, and Aphrodite says, "Do you only write horror?"
No, actually, I do write fantasy. I mean, most of my fantasy is dark fantasy, darkerish fantasy. I also write poetry, and not all of that is horror. Some of it is.
Yeah.
And I am currently writing a sci-fi serial over on Ko-fi, which actually may turn into horror, but so far it's still sci-fi.
You know how that thin line between sci-fi and just horror, because sci-fi has like very like DNA in horror. It just cannot help itself. All right, and we have 2 more questions from Novel Nana, and then we're going to close out our question segment. She says, "What would be your worst nightmare? Which monster are you most afraid of?" That's a good one.
I think the demons would probably be the most afraid of, because I mean, you really can't fight them.
True that.
I mean, because most physical monsters you can at least maybe stand a chance, but
try to do something. But like when it's like, gotta point that one. No lies detected. What has been the most gruesome way you have killed off a character in your book?
Oh, well, that's that's a hard question.
Nana will throw them at you.
I've done a lot of gruesome things to a lot of poor characters. I mean,
oh man.
I mean, probably the most gruesome was the story in Ruin City where the night wraith eats someone alive.
That's always a good one. The eating alive, but that's a lot of people's fear. I mean, everyone's scared of that.
Yeah, and that one has some nice detail to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you heard it, Nana. Some eating alive. I mean,
Aphrodite might not want to read my historical fantasy either if she doesn't like aquatic creatures, because my mermaids eat people.
Right. I'm gonna say my mermaids do all kinds of bad things.
Yeah, that's how they get rid of the bodies in Venice. They just toss them in the canals, and the mermaids eat them.
Mermaids taking care of them. That's right. Love it. Aphrodite said, "Oh, I will kill a curtain in a second. Don't fall in love with my kids." Just saying. Yeah, she'll kill them no matter what age they are. Let's see. Write the dang things. I've killed the same character off 5 times in one day. Wow, that's a bad day. I'm just saying. that's a bad day. All right. Yeah, she said, yeah, mermaids, no. Any aquatic creatures, just a big no for her. She said, I'm not even going to fight. I accept my death. Meet me in the afterlife. She said, I can't play with you guys. Oh, my goodness. So, We have come to the end of the show. I will let AF do her closing, and I'll switch the screen over to you.
Okay. Well, you can find me pretty much on any social media, Twitter. I have a Facebook group, AF Stewart's Minions. I have a website, afstewart.ca, and you can find books like this. That's my poetry book, my newest one, Poetry of Monsters and Madness. My dark fantasy short story collection, and my vampire book, Chronicles of the Undead. And they're on all stores because I'm wide. I'm not KU exclusive. And that's pretty much. And I have my YouTube channel with my podcast every Sunday. And Words That Kill that comes out sporadically as Joe's schedule is all over the place these days. But and so that's me.
Awesome. So make sure you all catch up. I believe I have all your links below AF, but double check me on your YouTube channel because I don't know if I had that from the form that you sent me. I thought that might have possibly been missing, but I'm not sure. So I will double check that and I will add it to the description if it's not down there, but all your other links are below. If you have not liked the video, please give us a like so that way as many people can find this video, and please leave comments in the comment section after the show. If you liked the show, if you're going to check out some of AF's books because they look freaking amazing, and I need to pick up 2 of those myself. And I will go ahead and close us out. If you're not aware of it, but you are because you're here, that I am author DL Tillery, the Mistress of Horror. I bring you all the horrorness over here on my channel, as well as my journey through my writing and my book tour because I have an extensive book library. And I like to buy books so you'll get a book haul every once in a while. As you see, we do CGL horror once a month, the last Sunday of the month, where I bring on a guest who is a horror writer and they will read you some horror that is not yet published and get some critiquing while they're here. We get to talk about some awesome horror topics and you get to get in the head of us horror writers. If you are a horror writer and you would like to be on the show as a guest, please do fill out the form that is also down in the description so that way I can get you on one of the episodes coming up this year. Alrighty, so if you would like to see more, then please ring that bell so you know when new things are coming up. And make sure you subscribe to AF's YouTube channel. I will double check and make sure that the link is below for you. And like we always like to say over here, stay scared. See ya next time. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.